So hello, good morning, Chuck. We are live already.
Good morning, Bettina.
Thank you for being with us, squeezing us in again.
Always happy to squeeze you in.
So you're having a workshop coming up next week. That's why we are meeting again, which is about truth.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about this today and tuning in. And actually, I'm a big fan of truth, but I found out that there are always two ways. One is the way we wanna have things going, and then there's the true way. So, which means kind of surrender to the truth and to the divine, which I found looking back to my life difficult. And I think for everybody, it's like truth hurts. So there are kind of quotes that the truth does hurt, or that you are kind of attached to something and you don't want to let go because truth could take this away from you.
It will take that away from you. And it will re-establish the relationship. See, attachments hide, basically they're counterfeit love, and they lead to pain. And love doesn't lead to pain, which is why I wrote that book. If it hurts, it isn't love. It's actually attachment of some sort. And you're fighting for your attachment, your partner's fighting for their attachment, and they just get more independent than you. And so it's truth would free you. Think about for a moment, Bettina, how much sacrifice have you been in your life?
80.
How many roles have you played in your life?
Hundreds.
Yeah. And all of those create deadness as a compensation for guilt. And they don't really work. They lead to feelings of deadness and, feeling like you're a fraud and all of those type of things. So imagine all of that sacrifice and all of that deadness and all of those roles were gone.
Wow. Total freedom.
Right. Imagine all your duties were replaced with true giving, with a true desire to give yourself to the truth or to whatever there is to be in service with, because it's really the truth that will help everybody. Imagine a world like that. Imagine a world with no guilt, Bettina. There would be no problems, because at some level, every guilt demands a problem. And so we hide problems. We have problems to hide the guilt inside. And before we get to the guilt, we'll get to a grievance with someone. It's because of you I have this problem. It's because of you I have this accident. It's because of you I have this illness. And of course, we hide that deep in the subconscious, because that's not nice. But you don't want to be nice. You want to be true.
Yeah.
Because Jesus said it, truth will set you free. And the thing is, truth, if you were true to yourself, you would be giving 100%. Now, think of it, Bettina, in your last relationship, how much did you give your partner?
20.
Right. So you had a 20% relationship and a 20% partner. But if there was truth, you would have valued him 100%, which means you would have given to him 100%, which means for however long it was true to be with him and enjoy him and learn the lessons with him, it would have been 100% and it would have been juicy. And you would feel more juicy instead of the guilt. The ego says, you say it's all your fault. But it's your responsibility. It's learning to to discern between responsiveness, responsibility, and guilt. It's a major lesson. And then we realize, oh, the world is my mirror, and it's a mirror of my mind, and I'm responsible for it. And in A Course in Miracles, it said we could change the whole world by simply changing our mind about ourselves. Imagine that all the self-hatred, the self-attack, the guilt, imagine all of that is gone and it's an innocent world. Yeah, that's heaven on earth. And we're building toward that. And when something is wrong in your life, let's talk about an incident that really bugged you in the last week. What disturbed you? Or who disturbed you?
Okay, a friend.
Right. So the bugger. And notice that judgment is in there.
Mhm.
And judgment, we use judgment to separate, but really, judgment is just hiding our guilt. We're going, I'm superior, and I'm not like that. I don't have that guilt. It's you, and so I judge you, and you deserve to be punished, not me. I'm so innocent. So, and from judgment comes all the suffering in the world. All that separation where there was meant to be bonding. Bonding is the truth. Bonding means love and success with ease. It means partnership. It means success. It means freedom. You have both roots and wings. That's the paradox of bonding. And we wanted to get away from that as kids as quick as we could. I have hundreds and hundreds of evidence of people separating while they were in the womb. And this sets you on a real self-defeat pattern, at least in one way. So truth frees you from all that. Truth brings freedom, but it also brings giving 100%, but it also brings ease. When you're giving 100%, because things are easy. I mean, that's a paradox. You think we have to work so hard, but
Exactly.
Basically, when you're a kid, being industrious is really good because you're learning to really, give yourself to learning and your roles and then whatever it is. But all of that, just leads to deadness.
Mhm.
Until you learn to be industrious when it's appropriate. At our age, as soon as you get past your 20s, it's like at our age, basically working hard means something isn't working. And you think it's not working out there, but it's a reflection of something that's not working inside yourself. Now, there's an easy solution to that. But by the way, when you start a new project or a new relationship or something, then more work is called for because you're at a beginning, like having a baby. More work is called for. Get ready, get your sleep beforehand, that kind of thing. Anyhow, so yeah, that's great. Working hard really helps a new project. But then it's meant to be easy. At our age, things are meant to be easy. And it's meant to be easy because it's truthful and we're giving ourselves fully. And when you partner like that by giving yourself 100% with anyone or with a project you're working on, you invite grace. And grace will bring miracles. It'll bring divine love. And divine love will give you back the value you have when you got guilty. Okay, let's get back here. Let's imagine you invite truth into that relationship, not only that incident, but that relationship, because when I tune in, I sense that this is more of an endemic pattern.
Of a what in?
an endemic pattern. In other words, it goes all, it's, you had it a long time. Feels like it goes even all the way back to your mother. Did you see anything with this friend that reminded you of your mother?
Yes.
And guess what? That was a judgment. That was a mistake. It was used to separate. And you don't realize when you separate what happens. First, there's loss, and then sadness, then feelings that you were abandoned rather than that you abandoned. Then there's hurt. Then there's grievances. Then there's guilt. Then there's unworthiness. Then there's revenge. And it just goes, then there's hatred. Then there's self-hatred. And all of these illusions, all of this guilt springs up when we separate. And it looked like they did it to us and we were their victim. But, you know, if you go into the subconscious, the subconscious is always going, liar, liar, pants on fire. Says, do you want to be free? Or do you want to keep deceiving yourself? Because every relationship you have at this deeper level is what you think of yourself.
Yeah.
So as you invite truth into that relationship, what happens?
It's just pure love. Stay.
Yeah.
Everything is falling away. All these illusions are falling away.
Yeah. And sometimes people have such attachments and they don't realize there's an attraction to guilt.
Yeah.
But truth shows that what you were guilty about was just a mistake and can be corrected.
Mm-hmm.
And truth is all about correcting the errors in our mind, correcting the illusions, you know, all those things that sprang up in separation. So we bond, and bonding makes a juicy world. Everything gets so exotic because you feel no distance between you or anyone. And that person that you were judging was probably just calling for love, calling for help. And if you saw that they were calling for help, would you help them?
Yes, of course.
Some people said it wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. But that's what you're saying to yourself. There's a part of you that you disowned, that you've buried and repressed and rejected and projected on somebody else. The whole world's our mirror.
So this being afraid of truth, actually underneath this lies the fear of the guilt and all the stuff that this is coming up.
Oh yeah, it's the big lie. We want to do it our way. We think we're right. But again, all the times we fight to be right, it's just hiding guilt. Righteousness hides wrongiousness. And, you know, and then we get into fights because my right is better than your right. And my right deserves to be handled first and foremost. And if there's any bits left over, you can have it. But yeah, it's the big deception of the ego that we built this self-identity, but we built it away from our true identity as spirit or a child of God. You know, and so we've also, the ego wants us weak, so we rely on it. But our power is in our own will, which is actually our spirit, which is limitless, you know, but we have lots of crap in the way before we get down to that sense of will, that you're irresistible, that you can't be stopped, that your choices are law. I mean, God's choices are law. We thought we could change that. We thought instead of oneness, we could be separate and we could be God of our own world. And look what a good job we're doing. And so now it's just getting back. It's learning that the truth will free us and have it be easy and have us give ourselves so we can receive everything. because those are the juicy times in our lives when we can receive everything. And when we give it all, paradoxically, we open up our feminine side. That's our masculine side, giving it all, but our feminine side gets to receive it all. Betty, of how much you've been given here in this life, how much have you accepted and received?
It was 120, 180, but I don't know. It can be 20, then it's 20.
That's what I got to do. It's like, Bettina, heaven wants to celebrate you. Heaven wants to celebrate all of you. But the thing is, you got a notion to play a certain role, to write a certain story about your life, to be a certain victim, to tell sometimes tragic stories. And you follow this out to the very end. But that's not the truth. The truth is you deserve joy. You deserve love. You deserve, the leaves bowing down. A Course in Miracles has a line about that who you are, deserves to be, held in highest esteem. But we treat ourselves like beggars, like dirt. We offer ourselves to be slaved and to be walked upon. Yeah, I just finished this workshop in Japan, and it was a workshop on relationship, and so many of the women were tyrants over their husband, had dominated their husbands, and they were living for their egos. And I was going, this won't bring love. This won't bring happiness. And you'll estrange yourself. You'll have this sense, I was right. I was the best. I was superior. But those are vicious circles, superior, inferior, right and wrong. And if you want love, if you want truth, it's like you value your partner. One of the things about commitment, I know nobody out there has a problem with commitment. But in A Course in Miracles, it says that, we can't give ourselves fully to someone because we don't see them or ourselves as fully worth it. We don't value them fully. We don't value ourselves fully. And if you don't value yourself, you don't love yourself. And your self-love is the stock by which you give to another, which you can be in service, which you can just embrace them totally. But it takes valuing. And, you can imagine in the course of a long relationship, how many times that's called for. Commitment is not a one-time deal. Commitment brings the truth. If it's confusing, and give yourself 100% to some project, to some person, and all of a sudden the clouds will begin to clear because you focused and you're giving. And when you see someone else as deserving value, you see yourself as deserving value. And it's all you. In a course, in A Course in Miracles, it says that when you get to reach heaven on earth, you could look at someone and say, I am you. And just that mystical love that comes in, not the love, I want to get anything from you, or I want to use you to make me happy. The biggest problem where we have expectations, they should have done this and they should have done that, and let me micromanage them so they get it right finally, and I can finally be satisfied, which good luck with that. I found a woman I worked with who just couldn't be satisfied with her husband, and then found out that she was a person who couldn't be satisfied. And another woman who had all this anger against her father and was beating her husband up for it. You know, these are just mistakes. These are classic mistakes. These are common mistakes, but it's catching ourselves and wanting the truth with all your heart. If things are dead in your relationship, want the truth. If you're fighting in the relationship, you know, you're fighting, bottom line, there's many reasons, but bottom line, you're fighting because you're afraid. And whoever you're fighting with, they're just as afraid as you. But the truth heals fear. Forgiveness heals fear. Forgiveness is a great truth because it's a giving forth again. And that establishes the bonding. And that establishes where ancient enemies become, you know, future friends. So there is a way back to get out of whatever problem you're in. I used to be when I was a young man, I was such a hot mess in relationships. And then I was given the message, become an expert. If you want to survive relationships, learn about it. Learn everything you can about it. Because it's the most important lesson that isn't taught in school about relationships. Because there's no problem that isn't a relationship problem. So we're building through bonding our way back, not only to the truth, but to heaven. And then we have eruptions like we have in the world of people starving, and we have terrorists, and we have a war, and we have lies proliferating. But do you want to help the Ukraine-Russian war, Betty?
Of course.
Okay. So here's something we can all do. So there's a part of our mind, ancient part of our mind, probably many ancient parts of our mind that are at war, past lifetime, ancestral, whatever it is. There's that memory in our mind, and it helps build our ego, and our ego helps make this world. But now, invite truth into there. Into that part of your mind, because truth brings God's justice.
Falling away.
Yeah. How's that feel?
Like a new life. It's just all those illusions, everything falls away.
Yeah. And that helps the birth that this world is meant to be. It's not meant to be a signal of the end times. It's meant to be the signal of a new beginning, of a new birth. But it's going to take all of us, because it's a collective issue, or it takes someone at a real miracle level of the mind to profoundly bless that with their love and their grace, and to not see the illusion of the horror. This is one thing that's a horror. But did God create that? Did God create horror? So is it true? So let's ask for the truth. Yeah, so let's ask for the truth. Okay, I'm going to show you a really, really big exercise, something I just learned. Is this world a dream?
Yes.
Are you the dreamer?
Yes.
And all the dreams you have at night, even the juicy ones, are they illusions?
Yeah.
Desires are hidden. Dreams are hidden wishes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're chaotic, our wishes. Okay, so see the war in front of you. Some huge panoramic war scene. Mm-hmm. Step up to it, and with Mother Mary, take her hand It's a three-dimensional projection. It's a hologram. Step through it. What do you see? What's there?
Children playing, actually.
How does that feel?
Innocent.
Yeah. And now instead of these images of the war, we have this innocent image sending out innocence. But Betty, is this heaven?
Innocence, if innocence is heaven?
Well, is it? No, is it heaven? I mean, it's a happy dream, right?
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah. But happy dreams are really, really close to heaven. So you want to go up to this image and you and Mary step through it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What's there?
Just light.
Right.
So,
So
laughter, light.
let that come into your body. Let it come into you on a cellular level. Let it come into your DNA.
Wow.
Most times our bodies are so cut off from this sense of our spirit. But this is us, this light. This is oneness. This is everything.
Outrageous. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, some people have to go through a number of these images to get to that high place. But the more you get here, the more your world begins to transform itself. And there's many other things that can be done to help the bonding to take another step toward greater truth. In A Course in Miracles, it says God is truth. And he also says God is love. So really, truth is love. Nietzsche said we have art to protect ourselves from the truth. But he was seeing truth, devastating truth. And he was at a vision level of creativity, which means that part of his mind was also in an adversarial position. So there were many great wars. And back at his time, many people didn't survive that through insanity or through just being beaten down by themselves. It's not the difficulties that defeat you. It's the fear. And if you see fear as an acronym in English, fear, fear, false, E, evidence, appearing real. It's not the truth. It's one of the illusions. It's coming from our sense of judgment and attack. So if we could bless, if we could help instead of judge, then we wouldn't see the world as this fearful place. We would feel the confidence that comes of innocence and the power that comes of innocence. And power is not domination, that's fear. When there's attack, there's fear. By both the one who was attacked and the one who attacked. It's fearful. But we could ask for truth to be sent there. And all the times in our life, sometimes somebody was abusing us in some way, but actually our mind is sending out machine guns of attack. I learned that.
Thank you, Chuck. I am sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead. Please.
I'm looking forward to truth now. I'm not afraid of it anymore.
It's like it brings you new beginnings.
Yeah.
And sometimes whole new levels, which is that birth in your life. And couldn't we all use, a new beginning? a happier time, a better world, one where there's not economic scarcity, one where everyone can win, because that's God's justice. You know, if we welcome God's justice into us, bringing the truth, and welcomed it into the war.
Yeah.
Imagine it would take heaven to figure out a way where everyone could win. And no sacrifice, no compromise. But some of us are following pursuits of what our ego directs. And the ego gets really, I'm really good at war. Here, you need me. Come on. Don't listen to that quiet little voice of your higher mind. What does it know? I'm good at battles. I've lost a lot of them. So there.
So more of this to come next week on Thursday. You're starting the workshop Truth. And before we have been talking that coincidentally here in Austria and in Hawaii, there's Mother's Day on Sunday, coming up this Sunday. And I have heard Lancy saying once in a workshop that mother's love actually comes very close to divine love. That really, really touched me. Maybe this is the reason why we are having issues with our mom, the authority conflict.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like if we look back on, you know, and sometimes in our generations, our parents did it out of duty or out of roles or things like this, but there was actually love behind it, you know, and they're trying to make up for past things too, and make up for their relationship with their mothers. But many times a bad relationship with a mother is something that's passed down ancestrally, and it could be corrected. There's many ways to correct ancestral patterns, but what our mothers deserve is gratitude. We have an indebtedness. And again, here was a line for a chapter I just wrote this week. Your mother is as good as you make her.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't have 100% with your mother, so think of one of the worst times you had with your mother where things weren't going well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How much were you giving to her? What percentage were you giving to her?
Oh, wow. 1%.
Let's up it by 20. So it's 21%.
Mm-hmm.
How are things now?
She would open the door better. Yeah.
Who would open the door?
My mom, kind of receiving comes in.
I see. Who would open the door more?
Yeah, me, of course.
You have to open the door to give. So can you increase it by 40% up to 61% giving to your mother?
Yeah.
How does she look now?
Way happier.
This is only 61. You could go to 81.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That incident wouldn't even happen.
Right. How about 101?
She would be healed.
Who would be healed?
Me. Me and my mommy.
Together.
Wow.
It's a two-woman job here.
Wow.
So, yeah. So now what were you using that incident for? So you could?
Hatred.
Hatred of what? Whom?
Family issues. It was an incident back in my childhood. And they're just being scared and not taking my place, actually.
So Was that hatred also of the feminine?
Yeah.
And how has that served you?
Not at all.
Because your femininity is your lovableness. It's the symbol of receiving. But you can only have that if you have that self-love, self-value. So the ego doesn't tell us, puts a lot of stuff in small print. It says, oh, you could be independent. You can do things your way. You could be right. You can live your own life. Like that ever made us happy. We could have asked for the truth, and it would have saved us so much time. So we have these patterns in there, but truth will correct this. Truth will change this. So, okay, so that's one aspect of your mother. So think of another incident that was really negative with your mother. These are gifts for you and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how bad was it?
100% bad, of course.
So, disaster level. Okay, now, how many fractures did you get in your mind at that time?
100.
And how many layers down?
2.
So all of these are 200 pieces of your mind, all having all that pain that I talked about with separation. And now it's from yourself. So now you're resisting yourself because each one is fighting to be ascendant, to drive the truck of your life. You know. And how old was that incident?
Childhood is what, 3? When I was 3.
That's what I get too. So that's where you're learning success and victory and friendship and communication. But instead it's heartbreak and disaster. How many splits between you and your mother?
300.
Yeah, and how many layers down?
3.
So 900. That's a lot of stuff to recover. Let's restore it now. How about you ask Mother Mary to come in and restore holy family level bonding? Her and Jesus and just bring in holy family bonding between you and your mom.
So much nurturing. It's amazing.
And imagine that all of the splits in your mind and your mom's mind, that all of those be restored to wholeness also. And wholeness is peace and confidence and joy.
Love and softness.
Yeah.
Great.
And actually, these are the best gifts you can give your mother. Because sometimes after an incident like that, where you feel victimized and because you separated, it's like you're so lonely. That's one of the things that also comes up in a separation. You're so lonely. And the ego says, I know, fuse with your mother. So it's not joining. It's not real love. It's a level where you lose individuation. And when that happens, sometimes in the present, have you ever known in a relationship where your mother came out of your mouth? That's called fusion. And it prevents partnership. It prevents real communication. It prevents real love because you're so close, you can't really talk to them. So this kind of bonding creates the individuation that makes love natural, communication easy. And it gives you roots and it gives you wings. Under every trauma, you'll find that ego's desire for independence. It doesn't tell you it's dissociated and can't receive. It only wants you to be independent to get your way. It doesn't tell you that it's a package deal, and it always brings in that victim pattern along with it that it's hiding,
Yeah.
and the sacrifice. And so, the ego's a big fat liar, unless it's a skinny little liar, just. But, I mean, start thinking of, okay, here's a mound of grievances and judgments on your mother. How big is that mound?
300.
Great.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, it's classic. I find a lot more at times, many times. So now
I've attended a lot of workshops already.
Tell me your one thing that you feel grateful to your mother for.
I feel grateful that she has given birth to me, first of all, that she went through all that pain.
Great. And how big is the mound now?
0.
So one did it. So anything extra that you feel, do you imagine how many diapers she changed?
Lots.
How many meals she cooked? How much she cleaned? How much she broke up fights between you and your brother?
Grateful.
Yeah. And that's the way to approach our mothers. And the mistakes that we see in our mothers, actually our parents and siblings represent how we used to be in past lives.
Mm-hmm.
So our forgiveness or our gratitude, we're just forgiving ourselves. It's all us. And actually that when we take responsibility, it gets us over the self-obsession, because ego wants to make it all about me, for that feeling of deprivation we didn't have when we were kids from all the separation we made. Now we feel deprived and scarce, so we want our partner to make up for it. Twice if you're not too tired. And that leads to disaster.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Everybody deserves our gratitude for what they've given us, and also for what they show us of things that we feel so guilty about. We bury them in the deepest parts of our mind. But our family shows them to us. Our partner shows them to us. Our kids show them to us. It's like the Course in Miracles line, I will forgive and this will disappear. But sometimes there's many lifetimes involved. So it's forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. Or asking God's justice, or asking for the truth. That rings a bell. And there's so many other choose. When you want to get healed, there is a way. If you want it above all the hidden attachments that are going on. Because when we get a separation, and there's all these little pieces, they always want to get something outside us. And they keep making other splits. So these fragments keep proliferating. And they all have different goals, which is another name for the idols outside us that we think will make us happy. And that lead to heartbreak, revenge, desire. And it's about when you let go of all your idols, basically you're in heaven on earth. Because it's nothing outside you want to get or take, which is where things go backwards, regress. It's only giving that will make you happy, and then the receiving that goes with it. But heaven's trying to give us everything. That's the nature of heaven. But how much every day do you receive of heaven's largesse?
You
How
asked
much?
you asked
Percentage?
right now 80%, because I'm doing this exercise you gave us, receiving happiness every day.
So every day you wake up and just ask heaven to lay it on you.
Mm.
And if you're having trouble with anyone, you can ask heaven to lay a gift on you for them.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you so much again, Chuck. More of all of this coming next week. We're
Your mother-
starting.
Your mother is what you make her. Let's make her just so worthy of celebration.
Totally. Yeah. You will be happy now as well.
So we could do one more quick little thing.
Okay.
You've heard that from a lot of guys, but I really mean it. See the worst time you ever had between you and your mom.
Yeah.
Is it a dream?
Yes.
Whose dream is it?
Mine, but hers as well, I guess. Mine.
Mm-hmm. But what were you using it for?
Separation.
Mm-hmm. So would you take Mother Mary's hand and step through that scene?
Yeah.
What's there?
Bonding comes up.
Sweet. And that's wonderful. That makes a happy dream. But you could go higher.
Okay.
You want to step through that scene?
Wow. It's, like having it all. Receiving.
Yeah. Great. But you want to go a step further through having it all and receiving?
Yeah. It's oneness with her. It's being one.
And you went from having it all to being it all. And notice your mother's right there with you in oneness. Part of you, part of her, part of God, part of all that is. Yay, mom. So even if our mom leaves her body, it's like you can keep building that relationship with her and helping her soul on its next movement, on its next step up. Because that's what this world is about, upgrading ourselves, time to go first class. That rings a bell. Well,
amazing. Thank you again, Chuck.
yeah, you're so welcome.
Amazing.
Give my love to our mother.
Yeah. I think she's watching. I don't know. To receive everything, and all our love to Lancy.
I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom.
Have a happy Mother's Day for Lancy as well on Sunday. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.
See you next Thursday. I hope your people are joining. Thank you, Chuck. Love you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.